Hey everyone, Tech Steve here, and on this video we're going to compare two of the hottest televisions on the market for the price. On this side we have the Sony X90K, and on this side we have the Hisense U8H. Now we'll tell you that the Hisense does have an advantage because it uses mini LEDs instead of your standard LEDs, but does that play a big factor in the overall experience? So in this video we're going to talk about the most important features as well as the picture quality. So sit back and relax. Let's get started. Now we'll tell you these TVs are very similar in a lot of ways, but let's just kind of talk about it in general. First of all, when it comes to the Sony, it uses Google operating systems just like the Hisense. The Sony also has adjustable feet. At the bottom here, you have a button that you can mute the microphone, and you have voice commands. Now, I will tell you that I do prefer the operating system in the Sony a little bit better because you can hit this gear on the remote control and you get this nice pop-up so you can go through here and get through all your settings right away. Now, when it comes to the Hisense, this television is also running off the Google operating system. The feet are static, so you can't move it up and down, but there is room for a sound bar. It also has the wireless Google microphones at the bottom. And when it comes to the menu system, you have this little button. So it actually has the standard operating system, but when it comes to gaming, it has some additional features, and we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. And when it comes to the rear panels, both TVs have the exact same setup, except the Sony, you can use a composite input or you can use it for a center channel. On the other hand, the Hisense has a headphone output, but they both do have two HDMI 2.1 inputs. Now here's the remote control. I do like the design on both of them. They're Bluetooth. They also can connect to the TV to do the voice commands. The Sony is a little bit more low profile, but on the other hand, the Hisense has more hotkeys. Plus, I like the fact that it has those white buttons, so it's easy to find in the dark. Now, the Hisense also have a special menu button, and I'll show you later on why that's important. Now, when it comes to gaming, I want to show you guys some of the settings. First of all, both TVs will support up to 120 Hertz if you use inputs 3 and 4. One thing I want to point out on the Sony television, if you want to use Dolby Vision, you have to turn off the VRR, so you have an option to leave it off or on. But when it comes to the Hisense, you don't have to switch Dolby Vision or VRR. It's pretty much automatic. In addition to that, the Hisense does have a gaming zone where the Sony does not. And inside of here, you can change the black levels, white levels, you have some motion settings, plus it does support AMD FreeSync as well. Now we're going to go ahead and compare some picture tests, but I will tell you that the Sony is a 10-bit panel, even though it doesn't have all those gaming settings, and I do have it set up in cinema mode, and both TVs are in HDR. So if you look at the Hisense, I have it in HDR theater. I went in and factory reset all the settings, so they should be similar as far as giving you the best picture quality possible. So yeah, let's see what the difference is. All right guys, throughout this test, I'm going to adjust the brightness so we get the similar look on both televisions, but right off the bat, I can tell you that the Hisense is much brighter than the Sony. However, the Sony's color seems to be more gray, where the Hisense is a little bit more on the warmer side. Now, we'll tell you that both TVs have a little bit of vignetting around the edges. I just want to jump in here real quick, let you know that this segment is about 3 minutes long. So if you don't want to see all these examples on the television, I'm going to add a timer starting now. Now, this is where you can tell the difference in the brightness. You can see that the Hisense is extremely bright compared to the Sony, but some reason, every time the Sony gets into a screen like this, it dims down. So if I go back and then come forward again, you see it's bright and it slowly dims down for some reason. Looking here live, the Hisense, the brightness of it, it just looks so much more vivid than the Sony to me. Next, we're gonna look at some tone mapping, and both TVs look pretty good overall. And again, that brightness of that Hisense is really taking over. And if you look at this red here, the Hisense popping so much more with the saturation in the red. We go to the green, again, there's just so much more brightness there in that television compared to the Sony. But I will tell you, so far, both TVs have a really good picture on them. Next, we'll take a look at a contrast test, and to me, it looks like the Hisense is more even overall, and again, you can't deny that brightness of that screen. It is ridiculous how much brighter that TV is. And when it comes to this contrast test, they look pretty equal. Again, that warmer look on the Hisense, but looking at these side by side, it looks like they have about the same level of grayscales. The Hisense might have a little bit more. If you look at this last box right here on the edge, it brings it out just a little bit more than the Sony, but both of them are doing a really good job. Now, since the Hisense is an 8-bit panel, I want to show you guys this test right here. On the top here, they're very similar on the Sony and on the Hisense. You can definitely tell the difference when you get down here on the center black line right there. The Sony is much smoother. And again, at 10-bit, it's gonna definitely make everything look a lot smoother as you're watching any type of content, or if you hook it up to a computer or anything that supports true 10-bit. And here's a stock ticker. And if you look at that second line in particular, it seems like the Hisense is a lot smoother overall. But that third line, that's definitely where I can tell the difference. So just out of the box, the Hisense is going to do a much better job at motion, but keep in mind you can go in and make adjustments, but I don't think the Sony's going to be able to keep up with the Hisense when it comes to motion and blur. Now this is a demo I was working on a while back. It is a 1080p signal, and I want to test and see how well each TV perform. Now you can't tell that big a difference, but here's a 4K version of that same demo. But watch when it switches, you can see that the Hisense again responds much faster. All right, so now we're gonna do some blooming, but sitting here on pause, you can see that the Sony has a little bit of glow around the edge where the Hisense is rock solid when it comes to that blooming. So let's go ahead and play on here and see what happens. And again, you can definitely tell the difference in the two televisions. So if you're looking for inky black levels, the Hisense is definitely gonna do a better job at that. And here you go, a little bit more. Again, I can see a lot more blooming on the Sony. All right, guys, let's take a look at the viewing angle. Again, we have the Sony here and the Hisense there. So right now I'm in front of it using my cell phone. Let's go over to the side here. And that's what the Hisense looks like from the side. Now let's go over here to the Sony. And that's what that looks like. So it seems like the Hisense doing a better job with the viewing angles as well. And again, that's just my opinion. You guys can leave me a comment below. Tell me what you think. I know that was a lot of information, but I want to cover it for people who really want to know. But again, you can fast forward through the videos. Now let's talk about the audio system. First of all, the Sony has these little speakers over here on the side. It gives it more like a surround sound effect, where the Hisense, they double down. They put a subwoofer on the back of the television. So let's take a listen, and it's going to sound the best with headphones. All right, guys, you're probably wondering which TV do I like out of these two. Well, I never tried to make that choice for you. That's why I show you all these demos so you can make that choice for yourself. But let me give you a rundown of the Sony. Well, first of all, the Sony is not as inky black as the Hisense, as you've seen, but it does have some features like your adjustable feet. It also has that 10-bit panel, so it's going to look a lot smoother whenever you put any type of content through it. But it did have some blooming issues. I mean, I showed you guys on camera what it looked like. Another thing about the Sony, it does have some issues with the switching of your inputs. So for example, I was able to take the Xbox and PlayStation, hook it up through my selector box, and the Hisense worked. I didn't touch it. The Sony had to go in and finagle it just a little bit. So from a user standpoint, the operating system is fantastic, but they could do a little bit better job on automatic switching. So that's what I have to say about that. Now the Hisense, it is an 8-bit panel. It's a lot warmer. So I think if you're gonna watch a lot of movies, you're definitely gonna enjoy the Hisense because that warmer look is gonna look great in theater mode. Plus, I think the motion is a lot smoother to me, but again, that's my take on it. Also, you have that subwoofer on the back, so it's gonna sound really robust. And I like the fact that it has a gaming zone. So if you're a gamer, you watch a lot of sports, you watch a lot of HDR content, the Hisense is definitely the way to go. Now, if you look at the price point, the Hisense is $200 less, and I'm trying to stay non-biased as I can, but I think either one of these TVs would be great for you. That's all I'm gonna say about that because both of these TVs were sent to me. So I'm techsteve, hope you enjoyed this, and I have some bonus footage for you so you can see another side-by-side. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace, roll it.
techsteve.